Welcome to Sunburnt Country Music. My name is Sophie, and you are about to watch an interview with Faith Williams, who's a wonderful artist from the Central Coast of New South Wales. I interviewed Faith for the first time in 2025, and she now has a new single called Holy Grail and an album in the works. So I'm looking forward to talking to her again. Faith Williams is an artist from the Central Coast of New South Wales who last year released an outstanding debut EP, Queen of Hearts. She is now set to release her first album later this year, which is really exciting news, and she has a new single from it, Holy Grail, and we're going to have a chat about it. Hello, Faith.
Hi.
Good to see you because we spoke last year about Queen of Hearts, which is actually still going. I hear tracks from Queen of Hearts on ABC Country, which makes me very happy because it's such a great EP, and I think it's having this long life. What has that year been like for you since it was released?
Thank you. Yeah. So I actually got news recently that it debuted on Triple J most recently.
Oh,
Yeah, with they've got a new country segment with ABC Country. And on I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I was notified that it was getting a spin at I think it's called it was with Outback Tom. Anyway,
yeah.
so I was so stoked. Nothing's ever been played on Triple J before. And I thought it was so funny because it was literally kind of like right on a year of release. Like it had
Mhm.
been released a year ago. It was like literally near the day. And I mean, Queen of Hearts was awesome. It was so great to record and you know, bring my music to life and start my musical journey, really. I mean, from Tamworth in 2025, that's kind of where everything kicked off for me, I guess, and I became a recording artist, which was really exciting.
Yeah.
However, I didn't have a lot of knowledge into the industry at all. So I was fairly green and I didn't have a lot of help or kind of know where to go for it, once the recording process was done. So
Mhm.
I think I know a lot more now than when Queen of Hearts was released. So I mean it's been great. I've played some awesome shows and some festivals that I didn't think that I would play. A local one that I attended the year before that I thought, if someone had said to me, "You're going to be playing this next year," I would have said, "No way." So and Queen of Hearts was lucky enough to win the new Songwriter of the Year at the Tamworth Country Music Festival when it was released last year. So yeah, I think from once I started recording, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I just loved it so much, loved the process, the people around me, and how it made me feel. So I was definitely going to be back, and there was heaps in the works, but it did take a little more time than I wanted it to
Mhm.
release, more music. It's been a year, so I'm kind of like, oh, but that's okay. We're ready for a big year this year.
Well, yeah, and it might have taken some time, but as you just said, that it's now turned up on Triple J, the Queen of Hearts. So the EP has several songs on it. They're each song is great. So sometimes with EPs, there'll be singles, but you didn't release any of the new
No.
singles before you put it out.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And so for example, with radio, I probably should have. There's some explicit language in a couple of the songs. So, Queen of Hearts was one of them. I wish that I had have recorded like a cleaner version and
Yeah.
maybe released that as a single with another one. However, I did meet Nadia later in the year after I released, and we got chatting, and I was able to release singles after they were already released, if that made
Mhm.
sense. So I
Yeah.
released independently, and then she helped me release them to radio, which was cool. So we released Joe from the EP and Dear August as well, which was really cool. And I think I got a lot of knowledge from Nadia and also got to see kind of how everything worked a little bit with radio and things like that. I was just really unsure. So, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not your core competency to promote your work, right? Your core competency is
Yeah.
making the music.
Yeah.
And so Nadia is Nadia Drayton, who is a music publicist, very well known and well credentialed music publicist. And yes, when Queen of Hearts, the EP came out, it was on distribution. That's how I saw it. It came through on just like an email saying, "Here's new music," and I had a listen and thought, "Oh, I really like this." But you didn't have a publicist, so
Yeah.
you did really do it all independently, and it's connected. And I think that's the power of the songs you wrote and the way you perform them. I'm wondering, because you've been playing quite a few shows, as you said, are there any songs in particular that connect with audiences more than the others?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it just depends. I reckon every gig is different, and you have a different audience. So, for example, I recently opened a show for Duncan Toombs at the
Mhm.
Beer Shed, and his audience and crowd I absolutely love because, they want to listen to stories and they want to hear what your song's about and things like that. And I feel like my writing is such, like I write like a storyteller, really.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think for people to sit there and listen, I can explain what songs are about. And I think, people love an upbeat song, of course. So Route 66, people always love to hear live, which is really cool because I like to play it too. Queen of Hearts, Joe, I think like a lot of them, they're each one's not the same, I think.
Mhm.
So everybody has their own favorite, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are really musically distinct, and the stories are very different to each other. Now, Dear August, you mentioned, which has been on radio, is really stands out because we talked about this last time. It's about the child you lost, about the daughter you lost,
Yeah.
who was meant to be born in August, and I couldn't quite work out what it was about when I was listening to it, and then
Yeah.
you told me. So that's a song that will affect different people in different ways depending on their life experiences. So I'm wondering
Yeah.
when you play it live, if you have people, or if you play it live for that matter.
Yeah. I definitely did. When I released, I played it a lot. To be completely honest, I haven't played it in a little while. Um, I just maybe the gigs that I have been playing it hasn't really suited, I reckon. But for crowds like that where I can tell the story behind it, I think it's one of those songs that I wouldn't play if I couldn't explain what it was about.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm in a frame of mind, I'm like, oh, maybe it's too heavy. But everybody perceives things in a different way and everybody goes through things in life that, they might connect to it in a different way. Like for me, August was a month of losing my pregnancy, where August to someone else might be, their mum or their dad or
Mhm.
someone, a dog, like somebody that they've lost. It was more so, I think, writing the song for me, it was healing, but also I wanted people to be able to connect that everybody has that time of year, really, that loss and grief or um, sadness. So, yeah, I do play it live and I feel good when I play it live and I like to explain what it's about. And sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. So I think it just depends.
We should say at the time we're speaking happily, you are very pregnant with your
Yeah.
next child, and
I know.
still performing. I have to say,
Yes.
which is logistically interesting. I remember seeing Brooke McClymont perform when she was, I think, 9 months pregnant with her first child, and the guitar was to the side, and she was still rocking out. So have you found you've got to make those sorts of adjustments?
I find if I sit down or anything like that, I get really bad indigestion or heartburn and I can't sing properly. I feel like everything's squished, my diaphragm's squished. I've noticed later in my pregnancy. My guitar, I do play a big body guitar. So I play a Maton and it's a big body. So I feel like it sits quite good and I play it high and
Yeah.
my pregnancies always sit low. So it kind of works, which is good.
Yeah.
But I do get out of breath and things like that now that I am later in my pregnancy. But I've found it, yeah, pretty good.
When you were pregnant the first time, because you have a son, were you performing much?
No, no. So not at all. So
Right.
I didn't know how I would be this time around and how it would affect me and my vocals as well. Because I know that some people get a lot of shifts with how like their sound, their range, and things like that. So I think I'm pretty lucky that I haven't had too much change.
Well, this child's had an excellent musical education before she's even born. And
Definitely.
interesting once she is born to find out what the musical preferences are. Who knows?
Yeah, I think she might be a little bit brainwashed, a little bit.
Well, good, very good brainwashing. And part of the brainwashing will be your new single, Holy Grail, which you recorded with Brandon Dodd at Rabbit Hole, and Brandon also recorded the EP.
Yeah.
Have you already recorded the album?
Yes. So I went into the studio last year in September
Mhm.
and we booked 4 days out for to record 11 tracks and we got it done in 3, which was really cool. I feel
Okay.
like every time I'm there, people are so surprised with how quickly things are done.
Mm.
And I am too, it's like everything just falls into place when you're in the studio and you're around such talented musicians, I guess, and everything just clicks. So we went in there, recorded 11 tracks in the 3 days. However, I was unwell the last day and a half. So I did have to go back and do some vocals, which was a little bit disappointing because I do love that whole live experience and everybody there bouncing off each other. But yeah, we got majority of, I think it was kind of half and half. There are a few things I had to go back and fix up, so that was a bit of a bummer, but yeah, it was awesome. I was so glad to be back.
So it sounds like you might have done some really good pre-production on those songs in order to get in there and record them at
Yeah,
that pace.
kind of. I mean, we didn't do any pre-production together. I just sent
Mhm.
some demos through. My songs were finished, I guess. I think that's probably something that is important. And I was happy with them and had everything picked out. So yeah, we got in there and it kind of works. We jam out the song and they get to have a listen to it and we throw some ideas around and literally just everybody goes into their own rooms and we just play it kind of how it sounds and we either love it or we go a different direction. 9 times out of 10 we loved it. So yeah, it was good.
And because you write on your own, right? You don't have co-writes set up on a regular basis.
No,
Yeah.
no, there is actually which is really exciting. I attended a songwriting retreat with Lyn Bowtell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which was I think that was last Easter, so I think probably nearly a year. And I met a lovely girl. Her name's Millie Mills, and we wrote a song called Black Fire, and that is the only co-write on the album. But yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Well, we'll have to wait to hear it, of course, but I will look forward to hearing that. So, but on the single Holy Grail, what inspired this one?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a love song, but not your typical love song,
Yeah.
I guess. I wrote it about my partner and in a bit of a different way. I mean, choosing um, real over ritual, not,
Mhm.
if you didn't want to go down the wedding route, you didn't have to, or, if, some people would choose love over faith. I mean, for me, it wasn't replacing faith, but
Mhm.
I think just the kind of love you don't have to dress up or explain. It's easy and simple. So yeah, something a little bit different. I think when I sat down to write it, I was like, there's so many love songs and how can I make it different? What can I do? I need to as an artist, I feel like I'm always like trying to find ways to write differently, I guess, and
Mhm.
a bit more alternate, you would say.
And so, was this one of the first songs you wrote for the album? Because I'm interested in why you chose it as your first single, because obviously you've recorded 11 songs. So, there
Yeah.
were some choices.
Yeah, to be completely honest, I was really stuck with what to release first, and it was kind of like um it was a big decision just for the simple fact of um this time I hadn't released singles before. And obviously, I wanted to give a good feel, something that was a little bit more upbeat, I think, as well. And I released in January, so it was hot. Tamworth was happening. I wanted to kind of give that vibe, I guess. And there are some slower songs on the record too that I also would like to release as a single. So it was never my number one pick. But when it come back from being mastered, I was like, oh, I do love that. And Nadia loved it. And we threw some ideas around. I asked a few different people, I spoke to Brando about it, Casey, and everyone, I guess, kind of had that in their selections. I wanted to know everybody's top three, for example, and that kept coming up. So I was like, okay, cool. So we went with that one.
So Casey is Casey Chambers, who is Brandon Dodd's partner in the studio and in life, and was involved with your EP as well, because obviously she's at the studio. So
Yeah.
that's some good caliber advice to have.
Yeah, yeah. I'm very lucky. She's so down to earth, and they all are, I guess. Every time I go there I feel so comfortable, and um they, yeah, give such good advice. From, I guess, times are changing as well, from when she was starting out her career as a recording artist as well. It's so different to what goes on now, like you used to want to be chasing a record label, a record deal, things like that. These days, like, a lot of people like to, stay independent and things like that. So I think it's good to hear all different sides, and obviously hear from people who have experienced it and will continue to experience, um, the changes, and help me, guide me in a direction that I
Yeah, and
guess.
yeah, and it's the a lot of the artists being independent. I always sort of watch this in awe, because I think, yes, record companies used to be the thing to chase, in part because they would take care of everything. They would organize the
Yeah.
recording, pay for the producer, they'd pay for the marketing, all that kind of stuff. As an independent artist, you obviously bear all those costs yourself, and that means you have to often save up
Yeah.
and then get your spot. But it does mean you can choose your producer, but it's a big responsibility. And again, it's, as I said earlier, your core competency is making music. This does put a lot on you. So it sounds like in the past year since you released the EP, you've pretty much had like a degree education in how to be an artist.
Literally. And I'm still learning, like I feel there's still some things I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I should know that when I don't. And I think it's one of those things that will continue to change as well. And people will continue to learn and grow, and, find a different direction. Like you said, with Queen of Hearts, I didn't release any singles because I didn't really know how it worked. However, there is no rule either,
Yeah.
like people release whole albums and things like that. But just to have knowledge, I think is key. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, partly what I found interesting, when I listened to the EP for the first time, and it's still interesting because when I hear the songs on the radio, for example, is you do already have a very distinctive sound. So this is you as an artist, almost emerging fully formed in terms of how you want to sound, which I think, just listening to the songs and the lyrics, probably came partly through your writing process, because you, as you said, you tell stories, you have a clear sense of what those stories are. But I'm interested, because you so often depict a world and the characters in it, and it's like this full experience we get in each song, whether you actually perceive that whole story before you start writing, or if it emerges during the writing.
Yeah, I think Joe's probably a good example of this, because Joe is one of those songs that is just so random and unique. And I actually was inspired by the movie Forrest Gump. And I, pictured someone sitting there at a bus stop talking to a stranger, and just, pouring their heart out and telling their story. And I think that song, I just started, and the lyrics just fell out. Where some songs, I do write from, obviously, Dear August was something that happened in my life, and it was a life experience. So that one was a little bit more calculated, I guess, compared to something like Joe. So Um, I honestly think Joe started from the melody. Like I was just playing my guitar, and usually a lot of my songs don't fall out like that because I'm not great on the guitar. Like I know like six chords, not really, but I'm not great. So I think, yeah, it's it varies, definitely
Yeah.
varies.
Yeah, Joe is a song that still intrigues me, and sometimes I think kind of like to get the points of view of the other people mentioned in the song, if that makes sense. Like because you have, yes, your central character who's taught, but
Yeah.
he's talking to other people. So I was like, I kind of like to know what they think is going on.
Yeah. I know, we'll have to do a reverse. A
Yeah.
reverse song.
Yeah. So as I said, at the time we're speaking, you're about to have a child, and obviously, children need a lot of attention and
They
time,
do.
so you won't necessarily have time to play gigs or the inclination to do it. But given how well you've planned the recording, the album, obviously to be ready before your child's born, have you also planned a return to gigging?
Yeah. So I'm actually so lucky in the sense that I did do because I didn't plan, like, this baby wasn't planned. So
Oh,
everything was kind of already set in stone. Um but it's fallen into place perfectly because now throughout the year I'll have a bunch of songs still releasing. We'll have a plan in place, which is exciting. Something that I've never really had before. And then so I'm due at the end of March. So I'm looking to take a few months off, obviously, and um, just be at home and be present, which is nice. And I think that'll give me some time to do some more writing to potentially release for the following year.
mhm,
And then towards the end of the year, I want to release the full album sometime, maybe September.
mhm.
And then hopefully start gigging. So I'll do a launch show and things like that, be back at Tamworth and yeah, see what happens from there.
Well, I'm hoping to talk to you around album release time, so I'll keep the album questions for then. So I'm going to wrap it up here, having spoken about Holy Grail, but I will keep an eye on the socials for news of your daughter being born, and wish you a speedy flowing labour.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But Faith, it's been lovely to talk to you again. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.